So today I'd like to share with you all some things that I've been working on at the piano regarding contrary motion. I've written 3 exercises that are increasing in complexity from 1 to 3. But before I do that, I'd like to share with you all some tips that I keep in mind regarding the layout of the keys and also some things about outlining. So I hope you enjoy it. So quite simply, looking at the layout of the keys, we see 3 black keys followed by 2, 3, 2, 3. We're going to first focus on the outer white notes of the groups of 3. So let's take our middle 3 fingers and place them on the group of 3 black keys. Then our thumbs will be in place for the outer notes, and we're just going to be using our thumbs. So we're basically playing either an F or a B. Next, we're going to add in the groups of 2 notes, which we'll be using these 2 fingers. So now let's just do the black keys. Next, add in the Fs and the Bs, what we were playing with our thumbs. And the reason why I use F sharp major is because there's a very obvious physical layout and visual layout that you can easily grab onto. Now, when you get into other types of patterns and different scales, such as C Lydian, what happens in contrary motion is not like the F sharp major scale where it's in symmetry. So for example, if we start on the 3rd degree and go outwards, the black keys don't happen at the same time, which can throw you off. So now we're going to broaden the scope of how we organize each little group. So here's a simple pattern. It sounds like this. Now with both hands. So there are many ways to look at this, but I'm going to be looking at it in 3 parts. Part 1, Part 2, and then Part 3 is also C, D, E, F sharp, G, and that's an easy way to remember this. Now let's move on to a slightly more complicated pattern. So again, let's divide it into 3 parts. First of all, these 5 notes again. And now here, it's a little different because in the right hand, we have a second inversion major triad. And in the left hand, we have a first inversion minor triad. And the last part, of course, the notes are different than the first exercise that I just showed, but the grouping in my head is the same. I'm still thinking about this as these 5 notes. And I'm thinking of the pattern 3, 1, 2, 5. So that I'm not thrown off by the black key here and the black key with my 4th finger. So again, now we're going to move on to a more complicated pattern, and in this one, unlike the other ones, I'm not going to be mirroring the hands in an exact way, and I will be explaining why. So the pattern consists of 10 notes, which are then repeated. So if we're going to be mirroring our hands in an exact way, following the notes of C Lydian, it would sound like this. Which sounds okay, but in my opinion, it could sound a little better. So in looking at this pattern going inwards, we first start with B's on each end. And that sounds okay, but again, I don't like it because the C Lydian sound is not as strongly implied because of this B bass. So I want to change that, so we're going to start with the C. So now after deciding to start with the C in the left hand, I'm just going to be composing a counter line to this line going backwards. And that's how I came up with. Now with a pattern like this, what I'm latching onto is not as neatly organized as the 3 groups, for example, of the last exercises. So for this specific exercise, the first group that I'm thinking of is a little bit broad. It's this group here, but I'm focusing mainly on the octaves. After that, I'm focusing on these lines. And in addition to that, I'm focusing on the D and the C. And I like that because it's a little offset, and my ears latch onto that. Now in going in the opposite direction, the groups that I'm thinking of remain the same. By the way, I've written about 5 other sets of these exercises using different modes, but I'd like to add just a few more before I release the PDF. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.